Coming up on We Want to Believe.
How old are you, Mandy?
Holy shit, bro.
Isn't that insane?
The U.S. has its Annabelle, and we here in Canada have Mandy. An allegedly haunted doll that calls the Quesnel and District Museum home in British Columbia. Mandy has creeped out and captivated tourists for years. Her cracked face is twisted into a sinister-looking half-smile. Her eyes seem to track your movements, and electronics have a habit of acting haywire in Mandy's presence. The doll was donated to the museum in 1991, and the donor told staff she would wake up at night and hear a baby crying in her basement. When she'd investigate, she'd find a curtain blowing in the breeze from an open window, which hadn't been previously opened. Once she donated Mandy to the museum, the crying and mysterious window openings stopped. Mandy is now rumored to follow museum visitors with her eyes and creep them out with her presence alone. Cleaners make a point of cleaning Mandy's part of the museum first in order to avoid any frightening experiences. Anyone who tries to videotape her has their camera shut off, prompting staff to request visitors to ask Mandy for permission before taking a picture. Sometimes, the little lamb that sits on Mandy's lap will be found underneath her display case, even though there was no one around to move it. Disembodied footsteps have been heard in the museum. Staff lunches go missing, only to be found later stuffed into a drawer. Some items disappear and turn up later in strange places. All of this is attributed to the haunted doll. Mandy's story has garnered widespread attention, and the doll and one of her caretakers have even appeared on talk shows in the United States, like the Montel Williams Show. A movie called Mandy the Doll was made in 2018, hoping to capitalize on her popularity in much the same way as the Conjuring films did with Annabelle. Suffice to say, the prospect of a haunted doll has brought many paranormal teams to Quesnel to investigate, with mixed results. Now, it's time for We Want to Believe to pay Mandy a visit. I'd like to thank you for watching We Want to Believe and ask that if you enjoy our show, please subscribe to our channel right now, like this video, and click on the bell so you can be notified each time a new video goes up. Now back to the show. Mandy the haunted doll, the allegedly haunted doll, is kept up in the Quesnel Museum. So the We Want to Believe team decided that we should go up and take a look at Mandy, and the museum staff were generous enough to let us do that. So Quesnel is a good 5-hour drive from where we live, so it was a haul. We arrived, it was myself, Peter Renn, our new cameraman Michael D. Stewart, and a trainee investigator named Kara Wright. We're in Quesnel. Demon doll. Time to get to work. We met up with Elizabeth, who was our contact for the museum, and she let us in, and had actually closed the museum to the public, so we had the entire space to ourselves.
Do you want to explain what we're here for, Peter?
Hang on one second, let me just show this. No. Picking Mandy's nose. So we are en route to Barkerville, the historic town of Barkerville, and pay a visit to the alleged haunted doll, Mandy.
And what is up with Mandy?
Mandy is a old doll with alleged history of things that happen when you encounter her, and there's been a number of accounts with investigators that have been close to her and that felt kind of uncomfortable, an uneasy feeling, and they felt sick as well.
Interesting. Well, we'll see if something happens with us, with Mandy.
I don't believe anything's going to happen, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
And we drove all this way anyway.
Yes.
Peter and Kara got the equipment out and got set up. Mike got the camera ready, and I went and interviewed Elizabeth about the history of Quesnel and the doll, how they came into possession of Mandy.
With the Mandy doll, what is this the story behind Mandy? Like, what's up?
Okay, so Mandy was donated to the museum in I believe it was the early 1980s. I'd have to look up long before I came here. And the woman who donated it had a young child, and she was helping her grandmother clean house or do spring cleaning or something. And the grandmother said, "You should have this doll," with a childhood doll of hers. And she took one look at her and thought, like, I don't want this broken, scary-looking doll with my young baby. And she donated her to the museum. And the story is that sort of strange things started happening when Mandy came in. So the main thing was back in the 80s when we had something, part of the collection or accessioning process was that you took photographs of it. So the person who was the photographer at the time photographed her and left her in the dark room and overnight. And when they came in the next morning, it was like a little, whirlwind had happened in there, and everything had fallen off the shelves, and the bin of pencils were knocked down, and that kind of thing. So that's sort of the first thing that happened. And I always kind of thought that might just be a nice little origin story. But a few years ago, the woman who had been in that role came back and told me all about it. And I said, well, Mandy's pretty calm now. She's down here. Why don't you go and see if anything, you get any weird vibes off of her. And she was genuinely scared. She wasn't going to go near her. So something obviously happened that built up in her mind. And then mainly there were things like people trying to film. The story got out that we had this doll, and people would come in to photograph her. There was a TV. We often get lots of requests around Halloween. So a TV crew from Calgary came to film, and they stayed overnight in the museum. And when they'd go to film Mandy, their camera wouldn't work. But when they went away, and they could film anything else in the museum. So those types of technical glitchy things seemed to happen around her. I guess the fame spread, and the curator and the donor and Mandy were invited to go down and appear on the Montel Williams show. So they went to New York with the doll, and the psychic Sylvia Brown was there, and she sort of read the doll, and her explanation was that the doll had belonged to a set of twins, and they had polio, and the doll had been with them as they were sick and when they died, and the mother's grief was implanted in the doll. So this is this energy that people sense. So we, our history, tracing it back what we know, we can't make a connection to that. So I've not had anything directly happen to me. Lots of visitors come in and, tell me things that they feel, or we've had lots of people come and take her picture, and then they get home and, when they go to download it, it doesn't download or something like that. We had a young girl whose family was, very into Mandy, come, and when they went and visited, she fainted in front of the doll, and her blood pressure had just gone way down. So we called it for first aid, and they took her to our local hospital, and she stayed overnight for observation. And we all have lots of psychic investigators come in and, set up their equipment, and they all assure me that there's strange energy levels and that, but I don't know. If you're a believer, I guess you attribute it to the spirits or Mandy, and if you're not, you look for some other explanation.
That's all simple things. Elizabeth, let's go take a look at Mandy.
Okay.
Mandy, can you move? Mandy, can you make your lamb move like apparently you do? so I try it.
Not going to do that while you're watching her.
I know. That'll add to the magic, wouldn't it? Which city are we in, Mandy? Mandy, can you say hello to us, please? How old are you, Mandy? Mandy, is there anything you'd like to say to us? Let me have this glass box. See, did you hear that?
Ah, the spirit spinner.
So, I'm going to leave this centre to there, and then all of us will go next door. I will leave that resting there. No, actually, I'll put it on the floor right in front of you.
The most interesting thing I found when one of those investigations didn't relate directly to Mandy. They were booking, it was in the winter and at night, and they were going around the museum, sort of sense where they sense something happening, they sort of challenge the spirits. And so just over behind you, we have a World War I, a soldier or mannequin with a soldier's uniform on, and we had the wrong cap badge on his hat. So one of these investigators was ex-military, and so he challenged this soldier and said, "Soldier, you know, it's a court-martialable offense. You're out of uniform." And when he said that, the back emergency exit door blew open. So those are the types of things that happen around the museum, but you know. So this is we now have him without a cap badge rather than the incorrect
cap badge.
But he's still out of uniform.
That's awesome. Do you know who the uniform belonged to? Like, was there a name?
Leonard.
Leonard? That's the last name, Leonard.
Yeah, Leonard.
Is there anyone here that wants to say hello to us?
Someone with the last name Leonard. First name potentially Charles.
Is there anyone here that's from the Canadian military at all? If there's anyone here, can you please give us your name? Not Nick. No.
Check out this picture you guys. I think it's a glitch, or maybe not, but it's freaky.
Look at that. Holy shit, it's a double
I know.
exposure.
Isn't that
exposure.
insane?
That is. That's what it is. It's double.
I don't know why. It was just like, is there a man peering out the window? Like,
All right, we're almost done here, but we're gonna go see if Mandy moved the spirit spinner. Hang out. Just gotta figure out where the heck that was. Pretty cool museum. And of course, Mandy remains indifferent to us being here. You had your chance, Mandy.
Okay, so there seems to be an association with
Flashing lights.
flashing lights. That one's flashing as well, so yeah, there seems to be an association with haunted dolls or haunted objects, but there's a lot of pull towards haunted dolls. We filmed an episode for the show over my house and wasn't very successful then. Now we've done an experiment or investigation around Mandy, the alleged haunted doll as well, and we didn't pull a carrot out on that one either. So I'm still yet to be convinced of haunted objects. I believe in the theory of energy being transferred, but also at the same time I also think that media drives a lot of this, and a lot of attention is being brought to certain people or certain objects just for financial reasons or for just purely for attention.
5-hour journey, some beautiful countryside, some very hospitable people. We're welcome back again, but Mandy bore little fruit for us. We're not surprised. As I already said, these kind of stories about haunted dolls rarely turn into anything. It's good for a museum like Quesnel, which is a smaller community, to have that notoriety. It does bring lots of paranormal investigators from all over here. Mandy ended up on the Montel Williams show, so you can't knock it, but we didn't really get anything of it other than a really good road trip.